welcome to the SOS Social Online Safety Hour, where we discuss how to protect teens, adults, and seniors from the online dangers, because what you don't know can hurt you. Today we have a very important topic to discuss, so if you have teens or kids that are dealing with cyberbullying or just bullying in general, you may want to take some notes. I know your daughter, Cassie, has... She's been from a teen's perspective, and you've been kind enough to help us share her experiences today. So if you have a moment, is it possible we can speak with her and see her side of the stories?
Absolutely. She's right here. Cassie, are you on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi,
take it away,
Cass.
Cassie.
How are you?
Hi. Good.
So let me ask you, have you personally experienced bullying yourself?
Yes, many times, many different scenarios.
Okay. So when you did, what did you do to try and counteract that bully or try and take your power back?
Like my mom said, I really just kind of blocked people. I have like a lot of people on my block list from just different applications, and kind of just tell people like, I don't know you, or stop talking to me, or just completely sign out and don't even go on the computer or like on your phone.
So let me ask you this. What do you feel? Have you had both cyberbullying and face-to-face bullying?
I've only had cyberbullying. I've never had like face-to-face. I think people are too scared to come at you face-to-face. I feel like everyone hides on their applications and on their electronics.
Well, that's interesting. I would think that, when I was in school, it was always more of a face-to-face than it was cyberbullying. But, of course, we didn't have the technology we do today. So do you think maybe that, just like your mom had said, Sara, that's probably the possibility that it's easier to hide behind that than it is to be face-to-face with that person, correct?
Exactly. That's what everybody does, because I've had different situations, and everybody is hiding behind that. Because when I say, oh, like, I want to talk to you, address this in person, people don't react the same. They don't respond, or they're like, oh, I'll just talk to you on the phone, or I'll just, Facebook message you, like MySpace you, whatever.
Got it. So that's a telltale sign that a lot of these people or kids are hiding behind the technology. They don't have that option to do that face-to-face.
Yeah, exactly. They're too scared.
Got it. So what do you suggest to your friends if they have issues with bullying? What do you tell them to do?
I tell them to just ignore the person, like they're not worth your time. Talk to your parents, address the law. Like if it gets really bad, that you can go to the police if they're like threatening, like if they're saying things about suicide or wanting to kill somebody, it gets pretty far. And then that's when you need to talk to your parents and call the police.
So did you take that to your mom where you made copies of some of the text you got and you showed that and shared that with your mom?
Yeah, I've showed her some like pretty bad things that have happened to me, some pretty illegal things.
You know what? I think what she's referring to is that she, and this happens with a lot of the girls, where boys take pictures of their private parts and send them.
Oh my God!
Which is actually illegal and sexting, and that's just been so outrageous. And Cassie said, Mom, what did you do when you were my age when this happened? And I had to explain to her, Katrina, back in our day, I said, honey, we had two phones. It was the same line. We had no privacy. I remember going into my mom's bedroom to have a private conversation with a boy, and my brothers and sisters getting on the other line and laughing and going, oh, Sara likes Sam, And I said, this technology is new, and it's, I went to a talk a police officer gave about this subject, Katrina, and he said this is the first time in history where the kids know more about the technology than the parents.
Yeah.
And so that's another piece that's just really challenging and really hard to deal with. We're kind of learning as we go, and that's why having people like you in these kind of shows is so important, so that we can educate ourselves on our options.
And going back to that, a lot of times the kids know really well how to get themselves online, but they're not really good at protecting themselves online. So that's something else with this show, that we try and protect them and show them how to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Because as we know, it's easy to set it up, but it's a whole another story just to try and protect themselves from all the dangers that are out there.
Yes, exactly. Like Cassie was trying to help me set up this Skype, and we were having our challenges. But she did that really well. And I actually, I asked her to help me with technology and actually to give me information and keep me abreast of the latest things, because the applications are constantly changing. And I hear my teenagers come in and talk about they were on Kick and meet up, and it's like, well, what is this? So I asked her about that.
Yeah, you have to educate. So the parents actually essentially have to educate themselves as well as the kids do on what the technology is that the kids are using. So that way now they know, and they're in the know more so than being on the outside.
Exactly. That's really the key. And it's our job to protect them, because we don't know the technology, but this is a new twist on an old game, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a different way for people to be predators, and that's one of the things that I've educated my daughter on, and maybe we've gone a little overboard, but I'd rather have her, be forewarned is forearmed. One of the most serious cases of cyberbullying that I had, do we have time for me to share that?
Sure, go right ahead.
I had a 16-year-old that came in, and I was working with her, and she shared with me that she had been talking to what she thought was a boy online, and they were going back and forth and had quite a romantic relationship online. And then he had suggested that she meet him at a hotel. She was a little bit nervous, so she brought her best friend with her, and she ended up meeting a man, a 40-something man who actually ended up being a married man, but at the time she didn't know that. She met this man, and actually he had sex with these girls.
Oh.
And she told me, and so I brought the mom in, and we had a conversation, and what ended happening was that they were able to prosecute him for rape, and he went to jail.
Well, that's good. That's good to know that at least you were able to counteract that and get some help for these girls. But now I'm sure they're having to deal with ramifications of what happened.
Yeah. It was really a traumatic experience, and I think this happens quite a bit, that people pretend to be somebody that they're not on the internet, and I think kids just need to be aware of that. If you think you're talking to a 16-year-old boy, if you don't know him, it could be anybody.
I agree. Now, I know we kind of brought this up a little bit at the very beginning, and it's a sad state that some kids even go to the far extreme when they've been bullied. They don't talk to their parents, or they don't ask for help, and then they end up taking their lives because of it. Do you find that there's a certain type of person that would go down that road that you would have in regards to the signs? Or is that just because they've gotten to that point where they just find there is no other road for them to take?
Well, I think that that this is a vulnerable person. I think people that end up committing suicide based on cyberbullying are people that are sensitive. They're vulnerable. They probably have other issues. They suffer from depression. And so these kind of exchanges send them over the edge, and they feel isolated. That's part of depression, and feeling suicidal and attempting suicide is just really part of the mental illness of depression and the extreme of it. And so I think that this is what happens. And also another piece is isolation. When people are feeling depressed, they start to isolate. And I think that was one of the signs of that there were issues with your child. And so, they isolate, and maybe they go online, so they just become vulnerable to those kind of relationships and that kind of contact. And that's very, very unfortunate and heartbreaking when we hear those stories.
So let me ask you, do you find the schools are doing enough to help our kids and teens?
Cassie's shaking her head, so I'm going to have her answer that first. Cass?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think schools are doing enough at all, because I've had certain situations where I've gone into the school and they don't really care. Like, they don't really care when you go in. They're more focused on themselves and, like, disciplining the kids. And, like, when you ask them, oh, like, I have a situation, they're kind of like, they kind of brush it off like, oh, you know, just, like, come on, like, it's fine. But in reality, they're not really doing much to help.
So they're not really taking it seriously.
Yeah, they don't take it seriously, especially if you say, because, I mean, the first time you do it, they're like, okay, you know, we'll find out who it is, whatever. And they talk to the person denies it, and if it keeps going on, they really don't know what else to do. So they're kind of like, oh, say sorry and, you know, move on.
Okay. Can you tell our listeners about your services and how they can get a hold of you?
Sure. I am the director of the Circle of Life Center, which is a family counseling center located in Thousand Oaks. It's right across from the Oaks Mall. And we are a group of 10 therapists that deal with all ages and stages of life. Just a great caring group of very, very talented therapists. And we deal with kids all the way up to senior citizens, and we see individuals and couples and families. And the best way to get a hold of us, well, two ways. The old-fashioned way, phone number, 805-494-1414. Again, that number, 494-1414. And then we're also on the Internet. Our webpage is www.circleoflifecenter.info. Again, circleoflifecenter.info, because we provide info to the community. So thanks again, Katrina, for the opportunity.
Thank you.